Joe. Today we have Janine from Canada and Tarot by Janine and Setting Ravens. Janine, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. Welcome back.
Yep.
So tell me about the situation in Canada right now. What's the latest over there?
Well, in Alberta, because Canada's got so many different spots and they're doing so many different things. But in Alberta, you absolutely don't. They stepped away from everything, really. Social distancing. They've taken all the signs off everywhere. You don't see signs where you have to, distance apart or whatever. Thank goodness.
Right, that's cool.
And you can go in restaurants, and so it like, if it wasn't for the silly people walking around with their little coverings on still,
Yeah.
I feel like saying to them, did you not get the memo?
Yeah.
Apparently some guy, and I can't remember his name now, but he took all of the provinces one by one to court, and he won every single one in court. That there was no, sorry.
That's all right.
Will you be able to X that word out?
Yeah.
None of that thing that they said there was.
No fake situation.
Yeah, the situation, there wasn't. And that they had no scientific proof that there even was. Yeah. No scientific proof, and he actually got them to say it. So in anything they are doing in other provinces, some places are still being funny. Not British Columbia backed off of things too, but they're still making some noise, right? Because they're far more liberal. Sure. Alberta's always been the rogue one. Maybe that's why I ended up staying here, because
maybe.
Thank goodness. But the east of Canada, they're also been really they're really being silly there.
Yeah, I just saw a post a few days ago where somebody apparently emailed the TGA, which is the Therapeutic Goods Administration, I think here, and he asked them to provide some evidence of the thing, and he got a response 4 weeks later, and he said, and they couldn't prove it. Yeah. So that hasn't come out or anything, but and I don't even know if that post is true, but it makes sense, doesn't it? And if you really think about it. They never isolated it, and they're using the PCR test to do the cases, which can easily be manipulated. So what is the real threat? I've always thought, what is the real threat here, apart from the government,
Yeah.
The media.
The threat is the government. They're the threat. It's a ruse.
Sure is. But so, which is interesting, because this morning I was at the gym and I saw on the TV that the military is now touched down in Sydney, and I would like to ask the cards the first question, like, what's the real reason that they're there? And I know that their lockdown's been extended. I think it's 4 weeks.
Sydney's locked down for 4 more weeks.
Yeah, it's been extended, and that's a lot. That's a big extension, because usually they extend it for like 5 days, a week maybe.
Okay, something weird's going on. Let's have a look. And what are they? Why are they? What's the explanation for the military being there?
Yeah, so it's to ensure that everybody is, following the rules, and the businesses can't. They're actually going to close businesses too, so it's quite bad. It's to just enforce the restrictions, really.
Well, whatever they're telling you is not true.
Right.
Because this is underneath the hearsay and gossip card.
Okay.
So hearsay and gossip, and creating things right out of the blue sky, let's just say. So the magician, he's like magicking things. So they're not telling you the real reason why, which of course, I'm sure you figured that out.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not even getting the real reason per se, because this says it's a hidden thing. Okay. And it could have something to do with a very disruptive situation.
Right.
So they're expecting a really big disruption. Now, apparently, a lot of military are in every part of the US as well.
Okay.
Like it seems like they're in all all of the states as well, sort of more of a presence than usual as well. So we're hearing that as well. So maybe they're expecting some big
operations or
I think shenanigans because of something that happens. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I think there's something they're doing that's going to be really disruptive or create people to maybe rebel or just be feeling disruptive, let's just say. And it has something to do with something they've been working on for a really long time. So that's interesting.
Being the white hats, or?
I think we got the white hats here, but let's ask just to make sure. Because I've always got that your government is literally puppeted.
Yeah.
And that's why they're doing the absurd things they're doing. Like the stuff that comes out of Australia is just like
it's really crazy, isn't it? It's like every day almost, and multiple people just saying stupid things that will hopefully make people think, what's going on and why they're saying it.
Yeah,
it's so blatant.
So I think they're expecting something, whoever they is, but let's have a look at who they is. Well, it's not the bad guys.
Okay.
So it's got to be the good guys. Let's hope it's whoever it is, they're not harmful to humans. I always look and see what intentions do they have. They're doing this, whatever they're doing, they think they're being helpful.
Right.
So that's interesting. And we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So they're not sure how something's going to be taken. So I got a feeling something's going to be divulged or
I see.
That's going to be let out of the bag on something, and they're not sure how people are going to take it. Now that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Because there's a lot of things pending there, like if Mr. T gets reseated, but I would expect more trouble in the US for that.
Yes.
For some reason, I don't know, they're preparing for trouble in your neck of the woods, it looks like.
Yeah. There was an article by Sky News a while back, and I think they took it down because I couldn't find it anywhere, but it basically said that our Prime Minister resigned. And so can we just look at that and see what the deal with that article was? Because he's still obviously in power, so it seems.
You got a useful, helpful, good to humanity military in power in the background. He's nowhere near where he says he is.
Do you think they're using a clone or something, or is he still kind of operating as him just for the movie?
No, it's not him. It's a younger person playing him.
Yeah, right. He does look different sometimes. Sometimes I look at him and I go, it might just be when he gets a haircut. I don't know, but sometimes I look at him and I kind of wonder.
Yeah. No, that's not him. But what I'm getting is, they're using him to do things. So he's one of the puppets.
Yeah.
It sounds absurd, I know, but I'm telling you, if you think about what they're saying and the kind of ridiculous things they're saying, stay with that, because it's really that's the clue.
Yes, I
agree.
Would
they really say that? Like, come on. No. They're outing themselves at every turn. And that includes, and they keep slipping these articles out there. This is happening all over the world. Weird articles saying this person's gone or this person's been, taken off the earth plane, or like weird things. And it's like, I think they keep slipping out the truth.
Yeah. And then retracting it. So it just kind of, just to kind of give you a hint, perhaps.
I think they're it's so the consciousness of humans, it's like sinking in. Even the sleepers are, whether they like it or not, they're getting all of these messages, and the unconscious is picking them up. The only difference between us and the sleepers is we're listening to our unconscious, we're listening to our intuition, and they're not. So their ego is in denial, but their soul is hearing what is going on, and their higher self knows. So at some point, when when the switch flips, it'll be easier. I think they've been doing that for a really long time with humans.
Mm. It makes sense because I saw your video about the CERN thing
Yeah.
and how the movie's been going on for quite a while now. And I wasn't awake back then, so I didn't really know, or I wasn't paying attention to anything either. Never watched the media, so I never really saw what was going on.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. So they have been doing it for a while, and
Yeah.
and if you have the eyes to see, then you can see. So
Yeah.
I was
think
wondering.
it took a really long time to flip these guys, the bad guys.
Yeah,
It
it's
didn't
such
just
a huge
happen.
operation. It's such a
Yeah.
huge operation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you experiencing not hyperinflation yet, but maybe inflation? I know in the US they're experiencing inflation regarding gas prices, and in Australia we've been talking about that as well. I was wondering if we could look at, is that going to continue, and perhaps worldwide, are we going to experience hyperinflation worldwide, and
Okay.
how long will that last if it does?
I think I have noticed gas prices creeping up for sure, but they do every year in the summer here.
Right.
They go really low in the winter and then they creep up in the summer because everybody goes road tripping.
Okay.
Calgarians and Albertans and prairie people. So there's 3 prairie provinces, and we're one of them. And which means you're mostly prairie and you don't have ocean on either any side.
Landlocked.
And yeah, we're landlocked, and we're road trippers. Like everybody I know goes road. Like you buy your vehicle because it's a good road tripping vehicle.
Yeah.
So we're funny, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't really notice hyperinflation, but I'm sure.
Well, maybe it will. Maybe it will come, because I think that's maybe going to be part of the whole economic collapse. Maybe.
It does look like it's part of the plan here. I feel like it's being driven over there. I feel like it's like literally being orchestrated, even though, well, everything was making it move over there anyway, really.
Yes.
But like, because if we're supposedly still in this fiat system,
yeah,
this money system that's been bankrupt for years. Okay, so they're just printing fake money, you know what I mean? And they're still giving out, loans for houses, and you know what I mean? Because they're making money on the interest, and like the things they've been doing are so illegal for so long. It makes sense that the stories about hyperinflation. It's interesting though, because we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So I feel like it'll go fairly differently than people are talking about it. So this is interesting. And it won't be nearly as big of a drama as it's people that aren't believing that there are white hats in the background and there's a shadow government and there's also a whole nother money system underneath ready to take over, and probably has in a lot of instances. Those people, of course, when they don't have any of that kind of vision, or they just don't believe any of that's happening, they would say that, okay, we're hooped. And the way they describe it is, it would look like that if you didn't know the spiritual backside of this.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I believe it'll go differently than what they're saying. So it won't be devastating. And I always get by this time next year, everybody's in a lot better shape financially. So I don't know, there's going to be disruptions, because this card says, there's going to be days when you might not be able to get your hands on your money. But it's only a 5. So when I taught tarot, I always said, remember, this is just that in between making an adjustment in an uncomfortable situation. That's what 5s are. All of the 5s in the tarot are uncomfortable adjustments. That in between time when you first start a new job and it all feels weird because you don't know how you're supposed to behave or who's really your boss, or you know what I mean? It's that in between uncomfortable. That'll happen with the money system too. And it'll feel like things are kind of not going exactly how you want them, but then it'll right itself. I really get that. It'll be better, not worse.
Right. And I know you've done a few readings into gold and silver, and you think something could happen there within the next 2 months or so. Do you think
Yeah.
it's all going to coincide with that? Do you think that's all going to kind of happen at the same time with the hyperinflation and the new money system coming in?
So they're whoever's powers that be that sort of decide these things, because I feel like it's decided somehow, are really there. It's like there's a big argument about when to release silver and gold, I'm sure, but mostly silver, I get, to its true value. I feel like that's literally like they're fighting about when to do that, whoever they are, right? Who's they? I don't know exactly. People in charge of these things on the background, in the background, right? So it's been manipulated for a really, really long time. It's been repressed and hidden, all its true value hidden, and that's in particular silver, because I know gold's valuable and people always think it's much more valuable, but I've got a feeling silver might be more valuable. And they're just not telling you about it. Don't forget, everything we know is like
yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked silver way more than gold, so that's interesting. Okay, so we've got the magician. Yeah, it's up in the air with that magician. The magician is very tricky, and there's a whole bunch of other things that kind of have to go down first before all of this stuff. Oh boy. Yeah, so I think I'm a bit of a market crash, but then quickly recovers.
Yeah. Yep. Because there was a chart my dad showed me a couple of weeks ago where it was talking about, it was an article with a chart attached to it. And basically they were saying, yeah, this market crash will happen soon, based on whatever the chart was talking about, which I don't remember. And I asked Dad how long he reckons it would last for, and he reckons he didn't think it would last that long. But then I asked him again, and he said he doesn't think it's going to happen at all now. So I don't know. That's just one person's opinion. But
Yeah. Well, they have been shifting. Like it feels like in the background, all of these things have been getting less disastrous. When you look at them, they start out, okay, it's looking really bad. And then you look at it 5 more times and it's like they're working out the kinks of something. It's really interesting.
yeah, because on one hand, it would be good to have a mini crash or something under Mr. B's control, but at the same time, you also want to minimize the crash as much as possible for people. So, yeah.
Yeah. And they do, yeah, you're right. They do want a crash on his watch for sure.
Yeah.
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 So the High Court here just put out an article yesterday, I think I read it, and they said that lockdowns are constitutional. And I was wondering if that is, I'm thinking it's probably one of the things that comes out that is trying to wake people up to what's going on. Because it obviously makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Do you guys have anybody big lawsuits fighting it?
I've heard about a bunch of class actions being taken against all the politicians here. I don't know. I can't verify that. Maybe we can look at that as well. I have heard about that, but I've also heard that those things are just being squashed and just, nothing's happening with them because of the system, how it's all set up. Yeah.
Okay, that was creative. That was a part of the movie, that what they were saying there. So it's they're being creative with things. And what I said, to what end? They want to push everybody to their, so they don't put up with, they want you to stand up and say, no way, that's wrong. They want people to take it to court. They want, like that Canadian guy, literally he shifted everything. If it wasn't for him, we'd still be wearing the things on our face.
That's amazing.
And now, now they can't even, like, literally they have to just use fudgy laws just to even get away with what they're getting away with in some provinces. None of it'll hold in a court now.
Right. We did have, obviously they had the worldwide rallies over the weekend. We had a really big turnout. It was amazing, just all over the country for most cities. Even in my city, which is quite a small city, we had a convoy with vehicles, and I think it was about 1,000 cars. So that was really good.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's more than more cars and people that we have had at other rallies. So I definitely feel like the tide's turning, for sure. I was wondering if you did a video about on Catherine's channel about or one question about one of the charities that she was looking at, and I would like to know when all the charities that have been compromised will become good again, or what percentage are we sitting at? In terms of, because I think
might
maybe
have to recreate them. Hey.
Yeah, I think we should do away with some and kind of
think about it. They
fresh.
use numerology. They use like their titles. They're like, it's all spell casting. You got to be. I'd want to ditch them all.
Yeah, I agree.
But when will we see real charities?
Yeah,
actually help people.
Yeah.
Well, it'll have to wait till after the tribunals become public knowledge.
Okay.
Okay, because that card says it's going to be repressed for a while, and it has something to do with the justice that's going on, already started. I would think that would be this, and it's the covert justice, so it's going on in the background, so secret tribunals. And don't forget that rumors of secret tribunals have been around for a really long time, and I don't think they've been rumors. Like whenever I look
ever since
around
last year, the start of it, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I very first got red pilled, one of the first videos a guy and I did, he asked me about the secret tribunals. And I didn't even know what he was talking about, because I had just woke up sort of from programming.
That was a while ago then. It was a
couple of years ago, almost 2 years. And he asked me about them. And because he's been onto this for years. And I looked into it, and I had no idea. And he used to love doing that spring and stuff on me, which was brilliant, because I don't mind, because it's just like, I don't know, let's see what the cards say. And it was like, there's secrets. It was absolutely a yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, George Bush Sr. and John McCain, and they were probably part of them many years ago. So
yeah, that's right.
And probably others too.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of charities, or more so the structure of things, I'd like to look at, how there's basically only a handful of companies that pretty much own the world. They make like 80% of the money, 86% of the money. I'd like to know what's going on with the structure of those companies in terms of how is that going to, you know what I mean? Like, who's going to end up getting the money? Like, what's going to happen with that, all the profits of all those companies? Because it's, so much money. Is it going to be kind of invested into different countries that really need it? Say, certain developing countries, or
Wow. In the background, there's already been a lot of deals cut for these big companies. Like, you better believe Amazon's probably infiltrated almost entirely by good guys.
Okay.
Seriously. Yeah. So this was already been happening for years, where they've taken over slowly a bunch of these companies. I know it's hard to believe, right? Yeah. So it's been a lot of hard work. Okay. But they're already been infiltrated and are safely, like, they took out a lot of the big guys. Like, think about all the heads of
the CEOs that stepped down.
Stepped down. I can't even believe, like, some people don't think that's utterly fascinating.
So many, like last year and year before, wasn't it? Like, so many of them.
Yeah. So this is interesting now. So some of the money from them, some of their profits are going to fund the children and people and victims that are going in rehabilitating back into society, the ones that made it, and the people hurt by their activities, in particular children and trafficked people.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of it looks like, so they've already sort of taken over a lot of these companies. They probably put their own people in charge and they're taking the money, using it
Right.
on something else.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Uh,
I watched a video where this guy was talking about, I think it was Unilever, and because Unilever own heaps of companies, not just in the food industry, but also, cosmetics and things like that. And they also own Ben and Jerry's, and they were talking about Ben and Jerry's, how in Australia they run that company at a loss, and they end up getting a tax refund of like millions of dollars. So that, that's how they do it. They not only do they own all the money, but make a lot of money in the world, but they also run these things at losses and just evade tax and get refunds. It's crazy
yeah,
how it all
yeah,
works.
yeah.
Mm.
It's all created by that elite circle that we're not a part of, thank goodness.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they just help each other, and everybody else is food for them,
Yeah.
literally and metaphysically and spiritually. And
Oh, yeah. It's insane. It's insane how it all works. I'm, still figuring things out in many ways, but
yeah.
could we have a look at Indonesia? For anybody who's in Indonesia, like what's going on there, more specifically Bali, because they've been experiencing a lot of, deaths, I don't want to say death, like that, but, they have been experiencing a lot of deaths. What's the story? Is it people that have had the thing in their arm that are dying, and where are they at perhaps in terms of with their government?
Okay, take the numbers way down. I said, what really are the numbers? And this is a page.
Right.
It's not a knight, which is sort of mid-range. It's not a queen or a king, which would be really dramatic. So if a court card comes up to describe an amount of something, pages are the smallest amount. Take it way down. Okay, they are fudging. And they've been doing that all along. They've been doing that everywhere. It's absurd. Because, I'm going to just ask you, how many people do you personally know that passed over that could be actually proven that they left the earth plane with the dreaded illness? Do you personally know? You, David?
I don't know 0 people who died, but I know a few people who think they have had it. Probably like 4 or 5 people.
Mm-hmm. Me too, 4 or 5, all young teenagers, interesting. And what they likely had was a weird version of the flu, so a new flu-like thing. And it lasted 4 days in the people I know, and they were all interestingly teenagers, fascinating. Okay. But they were literally down for 4 days each. Various different people. I know absolutely no one. There are heaps of street people in Vancouver. There's still heaps of street people in Vancouver. None of those people were socially distancing or had any help whatsoever during the whole, nobody even thought about them or talked about them. And they're still there. Guess what? And of course they pass over for various different reasons, and they don't last long on the streets like that. And most of them are addicts of some kind. So there's all kinds of things going on that could take them off the earth plane, but there was no spike in street people. Look around. Like nothing makes sense. It doesn't make sense. There was a patch of people over here. Maybe they were literally handed after all, it is a bioweapon. Maybe they were just literally chosen. So just to make it look real, they picked some little community here and a meat packing place over here. We're going to scare everybody with that. We're going to do that. Like if you look at the pattern of it, it doesn't make any common sense. It's all made up. Okay, with like some little flares they sent out just so they could point to something. Okay, but the numbers are made up. It's a whole bunch of made up numbers.
I agree. I heard that in the what is it? What's a homeless community in LA? The really big one. It's 85,000 people.
Yeah, huge.
Skid Row, 85,000 people. 10 cases the entire time or something.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Those are the places that would be hit really hard if there was a real that
Exactly.
pan word.
You'd probably wipe them all out.
Okay? Yeah. If it's like that, it doesn't make any logical sense. No sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we look at the government in Indonesia and see where they're at in terms of if they've been, you know, the infiltrated?
Yep. That's
good.
my good guy military.
Yeah.
3 of Wands took them out of took them to new territory. So in other words, what used to be ruling them is not ruling them anymore. This is brand new territory, and wands are to the positive. 2 wands like that has integrity. So they're not, these aren't bad military. They have integrity. So that's good. So they were taken away, the bad government, and they've been replaced in the background. Everybody's got what I call a shadow government is what I figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it used to be the deep state was the shadow government everywhere. And they flipped it, you see. They took and flipped it. They're using all of these guys as tactics on them, which is why a lot of people don't like it. Because when some truthers hear that, and some people that watch videos like this and whatever, they don't like it because they think there has to be more accountability. But if you're going to work with demons, demonic cult, and bloodline families, that a lot of them have literally sold their souls and or even allowed reptilian entities to take over their bodies, the royal family, you know, in particular in Britain, you know what I mean? Lots of them, probably most of them. Anyway, or things like that. So when you're dealing with that bunch, okay, I really don't think you can have a really fair playing field because they're not going to play fair. Okay, no. So I believe they had to do it this way. There's no other way to keep us from being an enslaved a group of people anymore. We're a planet of slaves. We didn't even know it. So when you're dealing with that kind of cleanup, okay, the rules go out the window. That's why secret tribunals, a lot of people aren't going to like it, but guess what? I'm all for it.
Me too.
All for it. I'm like, I can't see any other way to do it when you're dealing with what we're dealing with.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you have you looked at when we could see the first evidence of that in the mainstream or on
I think they're letting it out. I think they put raw news on purpose out there, so they make it sound, they like embellish it a bit, and they, you know what I mean, but I think they've been leaking it nonstop for months actually. I think that stuff's all real.
True. Yeah, that's true. But in terms of like a worldwide thing,
yeah, I know. So they argue and fight about when to let it out. So that's a discussion daily, it looks like. So this is the strategy card. So they're swords are thoughts and words. So there's a bunch of people arguing and changing around and making arguments for, okay, people are getting fed up. Okay. I think they take the temperature of all of these places. I really do. I think they got some really great computers. They got some really great minds in the 17th letter of the alphabet bunch, and or the white hats, and or the alliance, or maybe all of the above, right? And so that, and they're duking it out. So some of them are saying we should have done this a long time ago, and some of them are fighting for, no, we got to keep this undercover because we have to make sure what happened in, you know, the September, you know, that 1 and then 1 date never happens again. Okay, so because they shut everything down. So they've done all of this work. This is what I figure. This group that is now, we now refer to them as, or I do anyway, as the white hats. Okay, so they did all of this work and they had the financial system ready to get flipped, and they were going to change a lot of things. And then they got totally bamboozled with that horrendous thing that those Bushes did.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then of course blamed it on somebody, right? That everybody would believe, right? So Like there's still people that actually buy that story. Okay, so those are not people I want to have a conversation with, because I can't personally tolerate that kind of foolishness and dodo brainness. You know what I mean? I can't work that. I can't work it. I would have zero tolerance for people that blind. Okay. But yeah, so they're duking it out daily as to when this should come out. So this is something they do want to be more honest, right? They do want to, yeah. And we're 70%, you know, a lot of things had to be in place first before. So they're thinking we're about 70% there, but things could go really fast now, because this card says, if the universe steps in and takes part, like the universe needs to step in, as far as I'm concerned. So destiny, okay, to speed this up, because that card could speed everything up, because it's kind of been in the hands of these guys, but now some people would call it God, goddess, universe, great spirit. I don't know what you want to call it, but universal energy has to step in now and like just tell us when to end this movie is what I figure.
Yeah.
We need incident from the universe to go.
I guess it's like what's going on with the mass flooding and the bodies that are arising. That's kind of what that is, right?
Stuff like that. We need it to reveal.
We need a kick in the pants, like
while everybody's arguing about when. Okay, let the universe reveal it. Like that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me either.
I can't wait.
Me either. There was a video, you did a video, I think it was with Bryce and Tom Numbers, and you mentioned, Bryce asked you about, should we be leaving the cities? And you said, no, not imminently, maybe in the next 4 years. And I would like to know more detail on that. Like, why did you say 4 years, and is it going to be a bad thing? You know, do we really need to think about moving?
Well, I think the cities were created in a way, it was a demonic plan that got everybody into smaller and smaller dwellings and crushed together. And not that humans like to be in groups, obviously, but the way cities are, it's not like you even want to know your neighbors per se. And you know what I mean? Like some neighborhoods are friendly, but some of them are like I think if you really look at the planned city plans, they don't seem like they were built to be friendly to humans, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So to be honest, it was all done deep state, dark culty, right?
All part of the plan to get everybody in the one area.
Yeah. So they're more vulnerable. They can
can't fend for themselves.
These other, families can have all the land. Think about how much crown land is in just Canada. They call it crown land. Okay. It's not crown land. It's indigenous land, by the way. Do you know what I mean? And same with Australia, right? The original people, hello, they're still there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my relatives are still, I got relatives that are full-blooded indigenous. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so it's their land, really. And we're hanging out on it, the rest of us, because of their kindness and generosity, frankly, and because we all help each other, hopefully we'll continue to do that. I got a feeling we're going to get more into nature over the next 4 years. That's what I was getting at, because you asked, and so this card's more natural and nature, and like in a more joyful place and more abundant. And when people are abundant, I doubt if they'd squish into a little condo or a little tiny box apartment when they could have maybe a little bit of yard and a little land, a house somewhere, and maybe a garden. Do you know what I mean? I think over the next 4 years, we're going to start choosing, instead of, because that's all we can afford. Okay. We're going to rent somebody else's dumpy little box apartment. Okay. And it's usually like a slumlord, we call them.
Yeah.
I've been a renter my whole life. I just bought a house for the first time. I'm 60. Took me till now.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And it's because the universe is rewarding me for doing my work. I'm telling you, as soon as I woke up, everything started going better for me, because I'm doing what the universe said. Get out there, drop everything you're doing, and be a truther. And I listened. And guess what? I highly recommend listening to your intuition, everybody, because things have been going good for me because of that, and I deserve it because I work really super hard.
Oh yeah, you're a machine.
I was told no, no, no from every institution, and they all laughed me out of the. I was a single mom tarot card reader. Even if I did good for a single mom tarot card reader, nobody even would even remotely lend me 1 cent. And now it's like, I'm buying a house. You guys can get lost, right? And more of us are going to experience that as we move into higher dimension of just experience and this yucky energy. And it's been leaving the earth plane. Like people are like, because it got all stirred up, it smells really bad right now. Just excuse the way I'm describing it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so everybody's just finding out we've been enslaved and all of this ickiness been going on, but that's because it's up and leaving. Okay. It's gonna be gone, and we're going to have our earth back, and we're going to recreate it. And over the next 4 or 5 years, a lot of us are going to have, we're not going to be so desperate, and we're not going to be in such bad shape all the time and just trying to live day to day. That's how they wanted us to be. Humans don't have to do that. We were always told that the earth is abundant. Okay, it is abundant, but it's all been hoarded by these demonics and these family bloodlines / demonics. Okay, guess what? We're taking it back, and humans will have more abundance, and we will choose how we live, and a lot of us won't choose cities.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend about a few people actually who were thinking about getting a big plot of land and people to invest in it, and then you can build just having this mini community where everybody grows their own food. It would be amazing. And you can live off the land, and yeah, I mean, by then we would have a lot of different technologies too, I would say.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily a case of having to leave the city. It was more a case of wanting to leave if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's what I get you'll be choosing differently.
Right. Yeah.
And if you choose to stay, you'll make it cool.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It would be good because cities can get very crowded too, and even though we're not overpopulated, I don't think by any means, but if you live in a city, it can feel like that because, and that's probably part of the psyop as well. They want it. They want us to feel like that, don't they? That's why you go to certain cities and it's like you're living on top of each other, and it's so densely populated. It can feel. Yeah.
It's all around. If you think about it, it had to be demons that figured that one out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Make us all vulnerable, piled on top of each other. And it's terrifying if anything, a natural disaster happened. It's totally vulnerable. I can't even fathom. City planners, they're all in on the psyop. Okay, maybe they don't even know it.
Probably not. Yeah.
It's like,
it's a need to know basis. It's everything's compartmentalized. Yeah. So you would have seen, I'm sure, that in the things that go in your arm, there's an ingredient called graphene oxide, right? And I've seen a couple of videos where people are supposedly having graphene oxide on a table, and they put their phone next to it, they turn the phone on and the thing goes nuts, or they put a magnet next to it and it grabs the magnet. And that's supposedly in the thing, and I would say that it is. Could we look at the reason why they put that in there? And also, as a follow-up question, is there a way that the white hats can turn that around for people that have already had it? Because it's pretty scary. It looks like something out of an X-Files or Spider-Man film or something.
Well, it was definitely the demonics that did that.
Yeah.
So it was part of their little scheme. And yes, it can get turned around. Isn't that weird?
Okay.
I don't know how. This card says it could swiftly be shifted for good. So that's weird. Interesting.
Can you ask if it has something to do with the Tesla technology?
it feels like it's a higher knowledge from maybe even off planet, because this card's really highly spiritual, so really evolved and healing. And it could even be turned into something useful for you instead of bad for you.
Okay, well, that's great. That's great news.
That's incredible.
Because there are so many, there have been so many. That's why people are magnetic too. You know, they are. Yeah. They're becoming magnetic when they get a thing. Actually, one of my auntie in Singapore, her cousin, it's someone I've never met before. He took the thing, and I got a photo of him with a massive spoon stuck to his arm, and it looks like a pretty heavy spoon. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, all this crazy stuff. Have you?
So Tesla, that could make sense, because when I did a reading on him, I got he was kind of mixed blood off-worlder, although at those days that I did that reading, I didn't know to say it that way, but I got that he was maybe a really unique soul. Okay, and now I'd say he might have some mixed from another, off-planety kind of influence.
There's a theory that he's still alive as well. Him and a bunch of people that have long passed over.
So what I got is that, yes,
he's still alive.
Energy's still around, but he's safely somewhere off planet watching. Okay.
Right.
So he's waiting. I bet a lot of them are. I bet there's dimensional, they got ways to travel that we don't even know about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to teleport to another galaxy when I get the chance.
Right on.
We have a bunch of petitions here, Janine, in the government. It seems like the government's putting these things out, and basically they're for all the things you would expect the government not to put out for. Things for like no passports, no all this stuff, like no mandatory things in your arm. And I'm wondering, like, what's the intent of those? Is it to collect everybody's data so they know who to target, or is it maybe because there seems to be a lot of them?
And what are they exactly? They're
petitions they're digital petitions that people sign, and they get hundreds of thousands of people. The last one I saw, they're coming out all the time, but they're all kind of they're all to say no to mandatory cures and things like that.
No, they're not. No, they're not to do bad. They're to get a feeling on. I think this is the shadow government trying to gauge who's really against what. And by the way, I'm going to just say something that might sound a little funny, but I don't think nearly as many people got I'm not buying it.
2/3 of the US. I don't buy that. It's
don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's not true. And there's way more people. Some people might even just act like they did just to fit in. I'm not kidding, right? Because so much stuff's been floating around about it. Like, you'd have to be really living under a rock to not see all the scary reports. So if you went ahead and did that, even though all of that was going on, that's pretty interesting, first of all. And second of all, I don't know. I think some people didn't and just said they did. Yeah. Just to fit in, just to shush everybody up in the family or whatever.
Possibly. Yeah. I know some people that are thinking about saying that they just did because they don't want to speak to people about it. But these are the figures that the government's putting out, that in the UK it's quite a high percentage. US is 60%, apparently 66%.
I get it. So I said, okay, what's the real numbers? Way less. There's that card.
Yeah.
There's that page again. It's less than they're saying. And there's more people awake than they're admitting. I really think there is. Yeah.
And people might be awake, but also a little bit too scared to not wear the thing, So there's definitely a lot more people, I think, that are, because nobody likes to wear it, but whether you want to go to the shops without it on or not, that's another story,
Yeah.
And in Australia, our numbers are terrible. We're probably the worst country in the world, I think, when it comes to the uptake on the thing. So could we look at why that is? I mean, I think it's a great thing, to be honest. But
yeah.
why are we so bad at it? And are our figures also way less than they're telling us? Because if it is, then it's even less people.
Yeah, so many people are absolutely withholding on it. Look at this withholding card.
Right.
And look at this stepping away card. Stepping away and withholding, because the word got out about these things. Okay, and people's intuition, it woke some people up, even if they wouldn't admit it, and they don't want to admit all the other things that truthers are talking about, but they don't want to harm their children, their own health, they're maybe even their intuition, instinct, and human instinct for surviving, because humans are pretty interesting survivors. Right. Look at, we've survived dark cult, deep state for 20 years. We've been actually, we even thought we were having a good life.
Yeah, exactly. It could be so much better. To
create a good life in the middle of being like enslaved race. We managed to make it fun, and yeah, we're amazing. That's how creative and amazing humans are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's devastatingly it's like a lot of people were shocked into not getting it by the things that were going around. So that worked. That worked. Yay, because I was daily putting things up on my Instagram and still am daily.
We also had the added luxury, Australia, of having our rollout start much later than the rest of the world. So we already, we had the ability to see what was going on before we decided to take it ourselves if we wanted to.
Yeah.
There is a celebrity here who passed away, unfortunately, from he suicided, and I would just like to look at that to see if maybe he didn't suicide, or maybe he's working with the White Hats, or whatever the story is. His name's Dieter Brummer. He was on a soap. He was a pretty big soap a while back in the 90s, in the mid 90s.
It's a strategy.
Right.
We're not getting the moon card. He might even step back out, because this card says you could have a big surprise there, that what appears to be could be the opposite. So in other words, it appears that he took himself off the earth plane. The opposite is so. And nobody took him off the earth plane either. This was his created this, planned it, and there's a reason for it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not really willing to tell us what the reason was yet. He said he can't say anything about that.
Okay.
Maybe he's under, well, he's not ready to reveal it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we can just imagine.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. When I tell you what, and I'm sure you agree, and everybody else is watching, like once the curtain is finally raised on this movie, like it's just going to be, when the curtain goes down, whatever you want to call it, it's just going to be absolutely mind-blowing, and I just can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait either. Oh man, we need it to, please. Let's roll the credits. Oh my
goodness. You've got Elvis, Michael Jackson, maybe all these people having a big concert. Like, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
We had a mainstream media anchor who was on one of the morning shows here, who resigned a few months ago now. And one of the things I did see of her was she was one of the people when the reporters was talking about the numbers in Melbourne, the illness numbers. And he was saying something, this is interesting. He was saying like that it seems as though the government could be fudging these numbers. And she goes, her exact words were, well, if the government's doing that, then it just makes me feel sick to my stomach. And then only a few weeks or a few months later, she resigned from her position. So I'd like to know if her name's Sam Armitage, and what was the reason why she resigned? Is it because she just had enough? or because she hasn't come out. I don't think she's, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure what she's doing now, whether she's working with another media company or maybe she's just having a break.
Interesting. It looks to me like she knew all along.
Yeah.
And she was with these guys. She was on the good guys' side.
Okay.
Maybe she resigned to get everybody to think about, wow, maybe she found something out and she couldn't stomach it, literally.
Possibly, yeah.
So she was told to, like, they made an arrangement for her to say that. That was all orchestrated, is what it was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because you wouldn't, if this were not infiltrated by the White Hats at all, you wouldn't get any of the stuff that you see in the media that's going on, would you? It would all be, you wouldn't get any rogue things, you wouldn't get any slip-ups, I would imagine, unless there were accidents.
Oh, no, never mind that. Like, they would have already rounded up all the troopers, and we'd be in some concentration camp. Nobody would see us.
That's a good point.
Like, are you kidding me? Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
And
I think the situation would be far worse worldwide as well if that were the case too.
Yeah,
it would not be what we're seeing.
I'll just say this: energetically, sort of intuitively, spiritually, I felt like, when I was really at the beginning red pilled, I was really doing, and we could still get away with it, I was really calling out H. Clinton and gang.
Yeah.
And at first we were so careful because I felt literally for my life to say her name even. And then there was this moment energetically, and I got to say, I'm pretty intuitive about stuff like that, because that's what I've been doing my whole life. I just felt like, nope, not a threat anymore. And then I was just going for it for a while.
Yeah.
And everybody, all the truthers we were all just like, and we're still doing that. Like, I'm putting out, like, I'm sharing nonstop Hank stories, the story about his literal, how he got taken off the earth plane in details. Okay. I'm sharing it. And nobody's coming after me and trying to tell. Like, I've shared stories about so many people and what they've been up to. How come they're not suing me? They're not suing me. Okay. Or cease and desist.
Right. Yeah.
Right. People have even said they sent the video I did and they sent it to the person. Okay. So I'm totally smack talking somebody as a dark culture. And they didn't get their lawyer to shut me down. Are you kidding me? Okay, so those guys are gone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's how I know.
Actually, while we're on that topic, because I'm seeing a lot of different previews on TV for different movies that are coming out soon, and some of them are people that we would think that are in the cult, right? People like Nicole Kidman, people like Will Smith, people like Steven Spielberg's got a new film coming out. Could we just look at that and see what's the deal with that? Were these shot a long time ago, or are these, like the Hocus Pocus film, not going to come out at all?
Okay, so it's a strategy they're not coming out.
Right, okay.
It's a big old strategy. They just need to keep stuff coming out because, sleepers aren't quite ready to know about all these things yet. Until they're ready to tell you about the tribunals, they're going to keep sort of, and they're kind of haphazard about it too, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, usually the hype's a lot bigger is what I think about some of these movies. I don't think they're doing it quite in the Hollywood style. Just like how lame and limp the awards were. You were supposed to notice that it was like in some like, I don't know, public place that they draped some drapery around. They did like kind of a job I would do to try to make something look really cool on a low budget. It's like, are you kidding me, you guys? Are you kidding me? From what the awards have looked like in the past. That was signaling if there ever was. So if that didn't wake up the sleepers, then there's no hope for some of those people.
Yeah,
they're kind of silly. Oh my goodness.
So I'll just
Anyway.
ask you two more questions, if that's okay.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a guy here. He's a politician. His name's Matt Carnarvon, and
Yeah.
he's one of the only politicians, one of very few, who's actually talking about. There are a few politicians here that are saying things that are against the narrative. Not many of them, and he's one of them. And he's talking about stopping the lockdowns. So could we look at him and see what his deal is? And obviously, that makes sense what he's saying. Is he connected to?
He was a bad guy.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Facing justice. So he's been made to do that.
Okay.
He was one of these guys. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he's strong-armed to working with the good guys.
Right.
And he's working with them so he can get in less trouble when his turn comes.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He's facing judgment.
Okay.
And they're holding it off because now he's doing some good. Yeah.
What kind of I guess it's different for different people. What kind of this is just, you don't have to look at the cards necessarily for this. I'm just asking you for your opinion. What kind of a reduced sentence do you think these people would get if they choose to work with them?
Well, they might be spared their life, I guess, if they were involved in the party substance. I'm not sure if they can step away from getting taken off.